My name's Valentine Warner, and as a chef, I love to cook. It's a huge part of my life. But I have another passion I was hooked on from a very early age, and that's fishing. I'm going to be travelling coast to coast from Cornwall to Norfolk, catching and cooking some amazing fish from our rambling rivers and deep blue seas. It's just come in from the sea. Along the way, I'll meet some kindred spirits, skippers,
it's hot,
river keepers, angling experts, fellow fishing fanatics who will help me find the weird and the wonderful. There we go. One big fat signal crayfish. So that I can create recipes that do these beautiful creatures justice. This is the freshest herring I will have ever cooked.
spot on, that is.
That is really nice.
It's my journey of cooking, fishing and eating. Life just doesn't get much better than this. The idea of fishing my way across our wonderful country is a dream come true to a mad, keen fisherman like me. The first leg of my journey takes me from Cornish coastal waters to the freshwater rivers of Devon. I'm starting at the bottom of Cornwall, fishing in what the ancient Greeks first named the Sea of Atlas, the mighty Atlantic. I think it only right to start this piscatorial safari with my favourite eating fish of all, the mackerel. And that's what I've come to St Ives to catch, the glorious mackerel. I adore these iridescent green torpedoes with their meaty flesh. They have such a rich flavour, which isn't surprising really because they are a pelagic fish of the same family as the tuna. The Horseshoe Breakwater of St Ives Harbour is home to a sadly dwindling number of day boats, but they bring the fish home all year round. And I'll be using a method that guarantees hook-to-plate traceability with South West Handlining Association's John Stevens. We're going mackerel feathering from St Ives Harbour. We're going to use feathers, but I'm using feathers with a difference. I'm using the fuchsia flower. Now, a great friend of mine told me a story that off the coast of Ireland, when she was a little girl, they used to put these flowers on hooks and send them down and catch mackerel in the same way that you would on glittery modern ones now. I really want to see if this works. I can't wait. If I catch one mackerel on a fuchsia, I'll be over the moon. Pretty, hopefully deadly. What do you think of this? Load of nonsense.
Well, I don't want to say yes, but it's not the way we go fishing in Cornwall.
These green depths off the southwest approaches are stuffed with weird and wonderful fish. Although this is the wild Atlantic, the whole seaboard is gently warmed by the Gulf Stream, a current of plankton-rich water that swells south of the equator and goes through the Sargasso Sea, past the Azores, to tickle the toe of Cornwall. Now, to catch mackerel, we're hand lining. No rod, just a simple spool with 100 yards of monofilament line and a sequence of hooked lures along the last few feet with a weight at the bottom to sink it. Looks more like a set of Christmas lights than a deadly mackerel.
I didn't want to say anything.
Hand lining is probably the purest of all line fishing techniques, and it was my first experience of sea fishing at the age of 9. I still haven't forgotten the thrill of it. John, you've seen what I'm doing. How's your system work?
Well, mine's a little bit different than yours. We're using multicoloured feathers on the hooks. I think a feather myself gives it a lot more natural
movement in the water
for the mackerel to chase.
There's certainly movement on there.
We'll see.
Our quarry hunt in shoals. Winding out our line sunk by a weighted end, we hope to cross their paths with our appetising lures. And if that happens, there's a feeding frenzy. So you either catch loads or none at all. Fuchsias versus feathers. Flower power.
This does look good.
What are they like in the water? Are they all going to drop off?
Time will tell.
Down into the blue go my fuchsia flowers, hopefully looking a lot like lunch. On the swell of the incoming tide, mackerel shoals flit like flocks of starlings seeking out tasty drifts of sand eels. And it looks like the other boats in the hand-lining fleet have also got wind of where the fish are feeding.
Got a head start now.
I think I'm gonna need it. I know what you're thinking. John's feathers are more lurid and swishy in the water. And mine are looking a little overwhelmed. It's not long before John has fish on. Lots of fish.
You got any?
Nothing.
Leave the line run to the bottom.
The shoal must be all around us, but it looks like John's feather lures are just more appealing.
Got any there, have you?
Absolutely nothing at all. Cornish feathers, 20, Warner, 0. I'm always a bit of a sucker for stories of old, but so far, I haven't caught a brass razoo. Just as I'm losing all hope, I can't believe it. It works. Fuchsia flowers work. I don't care that I've only got 2. I'm over the bloody moon. John literally caught a boatload of mackerel. I caught a few, but I'm really happy I caught them on the fuchsia flower. There's a tradition here that the catch is shared, so I'm having the harbour master and the local priest to dinner. Back in the 16th century, a lone priest ministered the needs of the St Ives fleet from the cosy little St Leonard's Chapel that's built into the harbour wall. The chapel's now a museum to local fishing heritage, watched over by harbour master Bass Bassett. And it's Bass who will be bringing the parish vicar along to taste my mackerel dish, right here in the harbour on John's floating kitchen.
So now that you've caught them, are you going to show me what you're going to do?
John, I am. I love mackerel a lot, but eating it all the time, I constantly want new ways to make it.
Right,
so
okay.
I'm going to go Chinese on you,
Right,
and we're
okay.
going to have sweet and sour mackerel.
Right.
First up, the sweet and sour sauce. And the local cleric is not the only one who's hoping for a free supper.
A good old blob of tomato ketchup. This is the sour.
Right, okay.
So a little bit of rice wine vinegar. A good splash of soy sauce.
Yeah, good on.
A good splash of fish sauce. And about 100 mils of water. I really like your kitchen, by the way.
Right, that's good. Everything's on the move.
Everything's on the move. Give that a stir. Right, that can go to one side. Do you cook a lot of mackerel? Are you sick
No,
to
I
death
don't.
of mackerel?
No, I don't. I like smoked mackerel.
Smoked mackerel is
Yeah,
delicious.
yeah.
Okay, onions and peppers.
Yeah, nice.
And then a furious amount of ginger
That is a lot.
and garlic to make it really pokey.
It's smelling good.
One violent chili.
No, 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 no.
You're not a chili man.
No.
Trust me. Okay, and then a good amount of pineapple.
Pineapple.
And a real aerial bombing of black pepper. This is something that when you're tired, you've caught 2,000 mackerel, but you want to eat, you can put this together in about 10 minutes or so.
Add the sweet and sour mix and a splash of corn flour dissolved in water to thicken it up.
You would love this.
Then all I need to do is deep fry my mackerel fillets that have been rolled in corn flour until they are crisp. And while I fry, the St Ives Air Force arrives to execute a daylight raid.
One fillet short now.
Is that a fillet just fed there?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a
Just
very
go that
active kitchen, this one. Okay. Does that remind you of your local Chinese restaurant? I hope so.
What's better?
It's better?
Yeah, really.
Oh, good.
Finished just in time to pipe aboard Bass and Reverend Andrew Goff.
Ah, Mr. Harbour Master. And the local vicar, who I think has prayed for us because we did do quite well on the mackerel this afternoon. Please come on.
Just wind your foot a little bit there. It's hot.
It's not too hot, I hope.
No, no, no.
Hey! Are you all ready for a little bit of sweet and sour mackerel?
We're ready for the tasting. Fish is a good thing. It's got to be shared, hasn't it?
John, get some sauce. Get some. Do you want chopsticks?
No, thank you.
No, okay.
We'll be here all night.
Nice. Too hot for you? A bit spicy?
Very nice. I got to be careful here.
Why?
I might have to put a clean shirt on in the morning.
Mackerel, my favourite fish, cooked in a very easy outdoor kitchen. Simple stuff, cooked in minutes. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Cheers. Happy days.
I'm on my way from coast to coast in search of the best fish to catch and cook. Now I'm crossing the landmass of Cornwall, heading east over Tressevin Hill to a sheltered sanctuary of this beautiful inlet. I'm diverting down to the south coast because there's a fisherman here who runs Wrekin Reef fishing trips with an unusually oriental twist. I won't be needing my trusty gas stove on this trip because this is going to be a raw experience.
I'm chugging out of Helford Harbour with Dan, a fanatical fisherman and lover of sushi. I love these kind of trips because what's going to happen out there is a bit of a tombola, really. We don't know what we're going to get, and who knows, we might even need a bigger boat.
Dan Gardner's an expert in Wrekin Reef angling, so if anybody can find us a likely spot to catch some fish, it's him. The geography of the seabed is like a jagged mountain range. It's sobering to think that this is a watery grave for pretty much every type of vessel that man has ever sailed.
4.5 miles to the first wreck. That's where we're expecting to get our whiting. The whiting, they're getting quite big at the moment. We're getting whiting up to about 3.5 pounds.
Oh, really? I've never caught a whiting that big.
People almost turn their nose up at catching a very large whiting, but are overjoyed to catch a very small cod. And I don't know why.
A gadiform of the same family as cod and haddock, this golden white-coloured predator feeds in large groups, patrolling the mid and lower water, scanning the depths with their large, sensitive eyes. I think they are hugely underrated as an eating fish, which is why they're abundant and very sustainable. I've never eaten them raw, so I'm keen to see whether their delicate taste comes across the same way as when cooked.
We're about 4 miles off Helford Harbour. We're over a wreck, and we're hoping to catch some whiting. And I'm going to send these disco shrimps down to the bottom and see if anything holds on.
Our lures need to drop all the way to the craggy bottom, but from the bumps and wiggles I can feel on my line, mid-water feeding mackerel have intercepted our lures on the way down.
It's because you've caught mackerel like I have.
I've got mackerel. Greedy mackerel.
And there we go.
Oh, look at that.
It seems that to stand any chance of getting our gear down to where the whiting are, we're going to use these unlucky fish to bait our hooks, making them so bulky that the greedy mouths of the mackerel can't gobble them up.
Oh, straight in.
Looks like our little trick with the baited lures worked, and those whiting are biting.
Now, Dan, these are very good as fish and chips, aren't they?
Beautiful fish and chips. You'd hard push to do better.
Whiting are school fish. related to haddock and cod. Very, very good eating. Kind of an old-fashioned fish that we seem to have lost a taste for. But floured, buttered, and popped in the oven to bake, they are absolutely fantastic.
It's time for Dan to take the helm and guide the Blue Pointer to his hotspot for flatties. If we can catch some, we can conduct a little sashimi taste test.
We're now off to the plaice, one of my favourite fish, a lovely, modest thing with its bright orange spots.
Plaice are overfished in some areas. Catching them with a rod and line, though, is low impact and immature fish can be thrown back. The spots on this 2D bottom feeder aren't just for decoration. These frilled delicacies are shy ambush predators, camouflaging themselves in sand whilst avoiding being meals for seals. As fry, they start life with their eyes on either side of their head, and only later in life transform into their one-sided weird symmetry that you see in the mature fish. And to reel one in, Dan seems to think that we need to do a bit of drifting with ragworm baited on the hook.
I'm on the bottom.
Okay, now keep letting line out now until it's going out at sort of 30, 45 degrees.
Okay.
Just keep your thumb on it. If you think you're having a bite, immediately take your thumb off and pay outline it. So if you feel that little nibble on the end...
Be generous and patient.
Exactly right.
Heeding the wise words of a captain who knows how to think like a fish, I trawl my ragworm with bated breath.
I've got something. Very sensitive little bites. Leave it, leave it. Feed a little more line out.
Swing him straight on when he comes up.
Okay.
Here he comes. Here's a place. Nice little place. Lovely.
Oh, look at that.
Well done.
A beautiful fish.
So if we include our very worthy mackerel, along with our whiting and that lovely plaice, we have a veritable trio of players for our sashimi taste test. I've filleted and skinned all three of our species. I'm slicing the whiting and plaice thinly, diagonally across the grain of the flesh, and I'm layering the plaice with paper-thin lemon slices, and I'm cutting the mackerel a wee bit more chunkily for bite. Our dips are soy and wasabi, ginger, English mustard and soy, and a pokey one of chili, shallot, garlic, and again ginger with a splash of toasted sesame oil and a dash of soy. Time for the treat, a pure fish experience.
Piece of plaice?
Piece of plaice. Number one down the hatch. Plaice.
Lovely. That's really good.
It's very firm.
Really firm and slightly earthy. Really good.
You could almost say a little bit chewy, in fact, but pleasant nonetheless.
Not unpleasantly chewy.
I do
In
like
my
that.
mind, I like that a lot.
Mackerel next.
It's soft, it's giving, it's incredibly tender. When it's this fresh, it's pretty unbeatable, actually.
And what of the whiting?
Dan,
Thank you very much.
it's for you. Very, very subtle. It's like a delicate fish broth in taste. Very, very subtle fish broth. It's not wildly flavoursome, but it's got something there.
I don't think you can get a better taste of the sea than raw fish straight off the hook. It's a lovely way to taste the clean flavours of these three amazing fish.
Cheers, Dan.
Yeah. Cheers. Lovely afternoon.
Lovely afternoon.
My fishing and cooking odyssey now heads north into the throng of the fishing ports of the northern coast. My destination is Padstow, and I'm on the hunt for a crustate I have always considered a work of art. The European lobster is an ancient and fearsome-looking scavenger from the very bottom of the salty sea. Its flesh is one of the best combinations of meaty texture and nectar-sweet flavour, which makes it irresistible to an inquisitive cook like me. Here on the dock, marine conservationist Dom Boothroyd is pioneering a kindergarten for these precious creatures.
Now, just to show you how long it takes for a lobster to grow, this is 1 year old and won't really grow to a pound until 7 years old. Riveting, they're mesmerising little things.
Yeah, really, really beautiful. Yeah.
When local fishermen catch hen lobsters that are in berry, that is with a batch of fertilised eggs attached to their undercarriage, they are given over to Dom's expert midwifery.
This rather reminds me of a kind of underwater pig farm. It's got the same, it's got the same kind of shelters. Is this where the eggs hatch here?
Yeah.
In this tank?
What will happen is, overnight, the female lobster will have a series of contractions, the eggs will hatch, and the larvae will float in the water. In fact, you can see a larvae just swimming here.
Wow. And that is already identifiable as a lobster.
From the hatchery, the minute lobsters are put into a spin cycle.
Why are they being sent whizzing round and round like one of those snow shakers?
What we need to do is we need to keep them moving apart, keep them separate from each other, otherwise we end up with one lobster that's very big and has eaten all of its brothers and sisters.
So if they stay together, they become cannibalistic?
As soon as the baby lobsters are big enough to hide on the seabed, it's time to put them back in their natural environment.
We've got about 1,000 odd, which we do need to release today. So
Yeah.
if you're able to take those out, that'd be much appreciated.
Yeah.
Time to head for Newquay Harbour to catch the ebbing tide. I'm shipping out with the aquatic family Lowe on their high-tech fishing and diving charter boat, the Atlantic Diver. Chris and Annabelle have been guiding divers and fishermen on this coastline for 25 years, and young Ben Lowe is being trained up to follow in their footsteps. And to release our cargo of little beauties on board, we have divers Jackie and Dan.
There you go. Safe trip. Yeah, Dan!
Jackie and Dan need to follow a strict dive plan, taking them right to the seabed where the 1,000 little lobsters will be gently released. This may look like an elaborate exercise, but it's the only way to get our baby lobsters safely to the craggy bed of the Atlantic. A place where they can shelter from the hungry shoals that hoover up any goodies in this murky soup.
And there they go back to the deep. We won't see them for a few years. It's very nice to see these lobsters getting help and the fishery being looked after. And may they thrive and be happy down there.
I've shipped out of Newquay on the Lowe sport fishing and diving boat, and we've released 1,000 baby lobsters back into the depths. Apparently, one of our divers, Jackie, has never tasted lobster, so I smuggled one aboard to cook for our lunch. I firmly believe that lobster is not the preserve of the posh, and pound for pound, it's worth every penny. I've boiled this beauty for 15 minutes, and once I've liberated the meaty flesh with the aid of a diving weight, I can crack on with my recipe.
I want to make something very fresh and clean tasting, so I'm going to make a lobster salad. This isn't a particularly new idea, this is quite an old classic. That's a good sound in the background.
Excellent.
This zingy dish is created with grapefruit, avocado, tomatoes and red onions.
Cheers, Val. Cheers to you.
Cheers. Yeah.
Well done.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Jackie, what do you think about lobster?
I'd be really interested in trying it as we see so much of it when we go diving.
I've always thought that lobsters were rather kind of grumpy, slow-looking, slightly melancholic
They're
things.
definitely not slow because they're not like crabs. Crabs you can get quite easy, but the lobsters are really difficult to catch.
Slightly more problematic. Dicing up 1 tomato, 1 ripe avocado, nothing too bitey. It wants to be good and soft and creamy. Jackie not only hasn't had a lobster, but she hasn't had an avocado, so I'm really looking forward to her trying this.
I'm frightened to try new things, I suppose, so
Do you like fish generally?
cod in batter.
Cod in batter, so when anything in batter is pretty good.
And I like tinned tuna fish, but I don't like fresh tuna fish, so.
Fair enough. I'm not adding any herbs to this at all. Very, very simple. It's going to be pepper that's the main seasoning. A little bit of red onion. It doesn't want to be in big chunks, which are quite kind of aggressive to the palate. Break it all up so it's not in huge pieces, and it'll look prettier as well. A good grind of black pepper. And now for the star player, Bobby the lobster. Nice meaty chunks, nothing too small, nothing too big. Lobster on top. 1 bit for chef to make sure it's not poisonous.
That's the third bit you've had now, though.
No, it's the second actually. Some lime juice. A good glug of olive oil. And then salt. Be very, very careful with salt. You can put it in, but you can't take it out. So a little bit, have a little taste, and then add a little more if it needs it. Okay, everyone. Very simple lobster salad with pink grapefruit.
Well, it looks great.
It's really colourful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nice and colourful and very clean. And again, I want to cook things for you that are simple to cook on a boat. So, tuck in.
Textures are really good, aren't they? You've got the avocado and the lobster.
Dan, is that a local recipe to put lobster in your cider?
Yeah.
God, it's lovely, isn't it?
I'm very, very pleased you said that.
With the divers fed, time to feed my angling addiction and get some serious sea fishing in. These waters hold many amazing species of fish, and it's sometimes quite difficult to know exactly what you're going to catch, but what I'm hoping to catch is pollock. Unlike the hotly pursued cod, pollock has been underrated for years. I believe it's a contender when compared with even the most traditionally tasty whitefish. Pollock are mid-water feeders, taking smaller shoalfish. Cod is seen as king of the Gadidae family. Unlike cousin pollock, cod have downturned chins because these fish patrol the lower depths, taking mollusks and crab from the seabed using their distinctive goatee barbels to sense hidden treats. Both meats are similar, but people tend to plump for cod, wrongly in my view.
This is the rig we're using. Pollock, like magpies and mackerel, like shiny things, but particularly bronze for pollock. This is the weight. It needs to be quite heavy to stop the tide moving it around too much. Your bait wants to hang directly down in the water. And I'm using braid. This stuff goes straight down like a telephone wire. You can feel every little quiver of fish lip touching the hook.
The whole Lowe family are dab hands at angling, but I'm confident that I can get something before they do.
Hopefully we'll get a pollock.
It's not very long before little Ben's into a fish.
Ben's caught a cod.
So I guess that's 1-0 then, Val.
Yep.
Taking a beautiful specimen like this good-sized cod on rod and line is an ethical way of fishing. Any tiddlers just go straight back.
There you go, Valentine.
That's a beautiful pollock.
Sounds like you've got a bit of a challenge on.
The Lowe family are giving the Warner a thrashing.
And the last of the Lowes also has some lovely pollock.
I'm the only person on the boat who has still caught absolutely sweet Fanny Adams.
Actually, I might have spoken too soon.
Oh, yeah, I'm in, and I've just dropped it. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Straight into one.
Here we go again.